Hi everyone, it's Dan. Thanks for checking in again. Welcome to episode 8. I'll try and keep this one quick. I just want to talk about the importance of communication and whether it's one-on-one communication with a person face to face or getting involved in various social media platforms and communicating with people there and how important that's been to me. I'm sitting here looking at all the groups that I'm a member of on Facebook. I'm a member of Acoustic Neuroma Support Group, Acoustic Neuroma Vestibular Schwannoma Group, Acoustic Neuroma Friends, AN Warriors, Acoustic Neuroma Tumor Survivors, in parentheses, Acoustic Neuroma Walk Around the World. But there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of other support groups online, and I think they're very important. I think they've been very helpful to me in a number of ways. Number one, hearing other people's stories, giving an opportunity for other people to hear my story, and then the connections that I make. Like I've mentioned in past episodes, there's been a few people that I've had the pleasure to communicate with and hear their story, and the ironic events that happened where I was communicating with someone who was going through the cyberknife treatments on the exact same days I was doing, except she was back east and here I am out in California on the West Coast. And so it's been very beneficial. So if there's a group that I didn't mention of the ones that I'm on that you think is very beneficial, send me a message, send me an email. Go to braintumorfighter@gmail.com. Send me an email there. Each of the groups is a little different, you know. I have the one that I'm particularly that I favor more than the others. But just like any other social media platform, sometimes people can get a little snippy with responses and be defensive, and then things get carried away. But that's to be expected with support groups, and you know, just try and filter through those and go to the helpful ones. One of the things that's been really helpful for me is also commenting and sending just a positive message. You know, there's a lot of times people are posting there and they're afraid, and it's really important just to, you know, send a supportive message to them. You know, just you got this, from praying for you, or however you want to respond. It's really beneficial to me to be able to do that for someone, because I know whenever I would post something in any of these groups and any support I got from people, it's always been super helpful. Another thing I've noticed lately, as I've been trying to go out more often and not just be so much of a homebody, friends of mine, I've noticed the level of discomfort they have of bringing up my acoustic neuroma, bringing up the tumor, and they don't know how to approach me about it. And so I think we need to realize, as fighters and warriors, how the people closest to us and just even acquaintances, sometimes they may have a hard time talking to us about it. So don't fall into the why is no one talking to me about it? How come no one asks how I'm doing? Don't dwell on that. It's difficult for people. I was talking to a friend of mine named Craig, and you know, we see each other every now and then. You know, I'm not going to lie and say, oh, we're the closest of friends. You know, he's a friend. You know, we see each other, we say hi, we talk, and you know, we have lots of mutual friends. And I had the opportunity to talk to him recently outside of a music venue, and he had just kind of mentioned, you know, how he didn't know how to bring it up, but he wanted to know how I was doing, and for me to be able to listen to the difficulties he was having bringing this up, but his desire to want to know more about what was going on, it reminded me how tough this could be for people. So you know, just keep that into consideration if you're having a hard time dealing with the fact that you know, not everyone feels comfortable bringing this up. You know, you be the catalyst in that conversation. And it's really important for us to be able to talk about our journey and talk about what we're going through, and you know, I think in the long run that also helps bring awareness to brain health. I've said this to so many friends. I wish I could afford to get everyone I care about an MRI just to check things out and make sure everything's okay. I wish that they were much more affordable. Truth of the matter is, MRIs are, I don't know what kind of healthcare plan you have, but they are not cheap. I pretty much every paycheck. I'm fortunate enough to have a job where I can set aside $75 for each paycheck and just say, okay, that's my MRI fund. So when 6 months comes up and I get here's your $900 copay, I've got that money set aside for that because it is expensive. It's very expensive. A couple other things I wanted to talk about. There was a gentleman by the name of Timothy, who I met online on Instagram, actually, and he had shared his daughter's story with me. If you humor me as I read this, and I asked him if it's okay if I mentioned his daughter, and he gave me his blessing. So here's what he wrote. So bear with me. When she was 5, she was trying to balance on a beach ball standing up next to her dresser. Needless to say, beach ball flies out from under her, and she smacked her head on the corner of the dresser. Ouch. We took her in for an MRI, and the doctor said there was no damage from the corner of the dresser, but there was a bright spot on her cerebral cortex. Just something that we needed to watch. After 6 months, she got another MRI. Not only had the tumor grown, but it had an additional tumor in the peduncle of her brain. That's when we went to see the pediatric neuro-oncologist in Oakland. And as he's sending me, my only response was, oh my gosh. And he said that because of the position of the tumors, we couldn't even find out what they're made of. In about another year, after scans every 3 months, she had another one show up on her left optic nerve. Now keep in mind, this kid's 5 years old and going through multiple MRIs. So just imagine how scary. God, I couldn't even sleep with the lights off when I was 5 years old, and this kid is doing this. He continues, we're super lucky that she has no symptoms from any of the tumors over the past 10 years. 10 years she's been dealing with this. Although she has had psychological trauma from knowing that she's possibly has a bomb in her head. One specialist said to her once, wow, that tumor is so big, I'm surprised your eyeball isn't pumping out of your head. Yeah, that's not really he says, not a nice thing to say to a 12-year-old, or I don't care what age you are, that's a horrible thing to say. That specialist needs some bedside manner tips. She started getting MRIs when she was 5, and she's 15 now. She's crazy strong, probably the strongest person I know. And I responded, wow, what a kicker of asses. Yes, she absolutely is. I feel like the tumors haven't grown in years because of her sheer will. And then I asked if I could mention her in a video. I was like, absolutely, if you'd like to mention her name is Valerie. And there's Valerie right there. What a beautiful, beautiful, strong young lady. So Valerie, if you see this, man, I'm getting all the klep just reading this right now. Tim, thank you for sharing that story with me. I think it's important for us to take the time to listen to other people's stories and to not feel alone. Valerie is definitely, wow. That's what's kind of interesting is here I am, 48 going on 49, and this 15-year-old is an inspiration. She was an inspiration to me when she was at 5, and I think that's an important thing for us, and that's what a lot of times doing things like starting your own website and starting a video blog, or going on social media and joining support groups, or finding out if there's support groups in your community, or just even talking to people, how important that is. And so I'm hoping that watching this and watching my video episodes, that it's kind of been important for you to see how, or it's that you kind of see how important it is for me to tell my story and share my story and my observations. So thank you very much to everyone who's been doing that. One last thing before we go. They're here. Got the Brain Tumor Fighter shirts. Someone I love is a brain tumor fighter. So there you go. Just got a shipment of these in. My friend one of my dearest friends who has a silk screening business. He made these shirts for me. They're available. Go to the store button. There's only a limited quantity of them, so I've got them in sizes small through XXX. I gotta get a 4X size one for a friend of mine who's a professional wrestler in Reno. He's like 7'2", and a XXX is too small for him because he's a pretty big guy. But the whole plan is I'm making these shirts, just paying myself back for the cost of the shirts. So I think it works out. I have to sell about 10 to 12 shirts to pay myself back. Everything else, the rest of that, the money is going to go to the Acoustic Neuroma Association of the United States, helping to raise money. And then I think people walking around with these shirts, it'll kind of help raise awareness for brain health for everyone. So the plan is I'm going to sell these, and then when stocks start running low, I'm going to release the next design. So I'm not going to have a constant supply of every single design. Just once the design's out, that's done. I'll come out with a new one. And so thank you to those of you. I've already got about half a dozen orders, and I just put the store up yesterday. So thank you to those of you who are helping out. Hang in there, everyone. As far as things with me personally, I'm setting up a follow-up appointment with my doctor just to talk about some of the things I'm dealing with. Still dealing with fatigue and headaches. So coffee and other things are helping with that. My next MRI is scheduled for October. So here we are, July 1st, 2018. Got a few months to go before my next MRI. But hey, I hope to handle it with the strength and the dignity as Valerie did. So take care, everyone. I love you. Keep fighting. And we are all brain tumor fighters, or we love someone who is a brain tumor fighter. So take care, everyone. Talk to you soon.